This is News You Can Use.
As service professionals, the more you know and the more I know, the more value we can offer to our customers. Recently, we hosted Doug Duncan, Chief Economist for Fannie Mae, in our offices in Alpharetta, Georgia, for a comprehensive discussion on all the factors currently impacting the housing market, as well as a discussion of his best forecast for housing for the remainder of 2022 and 2023. Over the coming weeks, barring any significant change in market conditions, we'll be sharing insights from our discussion to provide you with a better understanding of our industry. Again, the more you know and the more I know, the more value we can offer to our customers. We all experienced an incredible housing gold rush through 2020 and 2021. In this clip, Doug discusses the tangible reasons why housing got hot, red hot, during COVID. This information is vital to understand the current conditions in which all of us are operating.
This is News You Can Use.
BC, before Corona, imagine it's March 2020. So the unemployment rate at the time, March 2020, is 3.5%, all-time low. 30-year fixed-rate mortgages are 3.5%, an all-time low. And you've studied housing your entire life. I've studied it, of course, not as good a student as you, but if someone would have just told me 3.5% unemployment, 3.5% interest rates, I would have told you that in March 2020, housing was probably hot and maybe even red hot. But it wasn't. It was good. It was pretty good. And then a pandemic hit our shores in the latter part of March, and we closed a good portion of the economy here and around the world. Unprecedented. We've never done that before. Here in the U.S., closing the economy down in March eliminated 20 million jobs in 2 months. And unemployment, which does matter because you just told us that unemployment matters, right? It went from 3.5 to 14 plus, almost 15% in 60 days. And 15% is almost like Great Depression numbers. It rivals them, right? So, of course, right after that happened, everybody in the room was planning on there being a great housing market. We lose 20 million jobs. We're told to stay home. If you go out, don't go near anyone. Okay? And wear a mask. And housing gets hot, red hot, as a result of this. Why is that?
Well, there were a couple of things happening. If we put up the chart of GDP, I can point you to a couple of the indicators. The first thing that happened was a huge drop in economic activity. With that was what brought on that job loss. So you can see the two big spikes in the middle here. The reason I like this chart is economists usually talk about our national income in quarterly increments. So to the left of the chart, you see pretty stable kinds of quarterly increments, modest, slow growth really. And then you see the impact of the pandemic, the crash, and the very rapid rebound. And then you see 4 or 5 quarters of stronger growth than what you saw prior to the pandemic. So that's so what happened on the supply side of the housing market was with the crash in employment, builders know that people who have jobs are the ones that buy houses. And with millions of job losses, they had to take a pause and say, should we be building more houses if all this many people are going to be out of work? In the meantime, they also had to think about, if we are going to build houses, what do we do to keep our workers safe? But the Congress passed a series of stimuli that transferred huge volumes of cash to households. And of course, the millennials were in the process of ramping up purchases, and many of them were in salaried jobs. The jobs lost were more in the service sector and hourly wages. The homeownership rate among hourly workers is about 40%. Part of it's because many of them are hourly because they're going to school part-time to complete education, or maybe waiting tables or working in service sector jobs that are flexible around school types of things. And so those who had salaries, the PPP program was put in place to actually assist with keeping them employed. They were ready to buy. So when the Fed eased monetary policy and dropped interest rates to rock bottom levels, they also got cash infusion, so the demand side of the equation actually ramped up very quickly. Meanwhile, we were already behind in supply because house prices had been appreciating faster than the long-term average. This sort of supercharged it. And on Pat's t-shirt, you can see the gapping between the pace of price appreciation and the supply. Supply just gradually moving up as builders are trying to find workers. So it was a combination of those things that led to that.
Yeah, when I was wearing that t-shirt a couple weeks ago, Lisa said, I could see the supply side thing right there. So basically, we lose 20 million jobs, but the people that lost the jobs were mostly in service jobs. We otherwise, monetary policy, the Fed drops rates, so rates go down in response to what looked like economic collapse. But the fiscal policy out of Washington, not good or bad, not political, just we're going to give money to people so that it doesn't even look like any jobs were lost at that point. Arguably, we gave more money than had they kept the jobs.
Thank you, Doug, for offering that perspective. For many in our industry, 2020 and 2021 represented an incredible party. 2022, it's more like the day after and the hangover. Here's the good news. Key metrics like the Consumer Price Index are starting to improve finally. Once we get inflation under control, all the people that missed out on buying homes in 2020 and 2021, a lot will be first in line to get their piece of the American dream. Opportunity is just around the corner, and that's news you can use.